start this. Perfect. So firstly, good evening, everyone. Good to have you all. I, in fact, welcome you on behalf of the IPN family. For the benefit of all of you who are joining us for the first time, we are running IPN Top 10 Priorities series, which is second year in running. This is where we invite school leaders across various different regions of our country, and they, in a very dialogue-led format, share their views on what are their top priorities for this year, academic year, or you may say calendar year, wherein the idea is that maybe we, by the end of these 5 or 6 conversations, which are region-based, come and arrive at a top 10 priority, which is an exhaustive IPN top 10 priorities for school leaders. We did this last year. We got a fabulous response. Hence, we continued the effort this year as well. We have had a couple of conversations already, which were in the northern leg and the western leg. Today's conversation is from the southern leg of our leaders, in fact, with our leaders in the southern leg, and they have been kind enough to accept my invitation. A few of the faces are very familiar, but then, as I mentioned, because we value their inputs, hence we thought to invite them all over again. I'll begin with their brief introduction. We will, after that, start one by one with all these leaders. We'll try to devote majority of the time to Q&A, which will be at the last. Once the respective individual speaker has spoken, then we will, as I mentioned, take up larger time towards the Q&A. For all of you who are joining in, if you have any observation, any question, the ideal way of doing is that we'll help you unmute. You can come on the video and ask it by yourself. Ideally, I request to avoid the chat window because it usually clutters the entire conversation, right? And that with which any other hygiene thing, if you want to make an observation on, we'll be happy to take that up as well. Now, having said this, I was also wanting to make a quick note that we will be, in fact, closing these discussions in the next couple of weeks, so that if you have not yet filled in the top 10 priorities, which is on our Google form, please do so. Because our idea is that not everyone can come and be on the speaker panel, but certainly you can send in, and we've been getting some fabulous response on the Google form as well, so that while we arrive at the final top 10 list, we really have a very exhaustive top 10 and an inclusive top 10 with us for that matter. I'll welcome our first guest, Mrs. Seetha Murthy, who again, as I said, is a very familiar face at IPN and a very distinguished educator from southern leg. But having said this, her appeal is now national, and I have known her for a couple of years now. In fact, we met just before the COVID, I believe, if I remember right. That was the time which we met. And since then, our association has only continued forward. She is the Director of Education at the Silver Oaks Group of Schools in the southern part of the country. They have, I believe, 3 to 4 branches, Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, and Bangalore, if I am right. And as I mentioned, we'll begin with her, but right now I'm getting into the introductory part of all our guests, and then we'll ask Mrs. Murthy to begin with her dialogue. My second guest is Dr. Pratima Sinha. She is the CEO of DRS Society, which I believe runs a bunch of schools under the Birla Open Mind brand name in the southern leg. She again have been in a couple of conversations of IPN. I have heard her views as well. So we will also look forward to hearing from you, Pratima ji, after Mrs. Seetha Murthy has done with her dialogue. I will also then welcome our third guest for today, which is Chitrakala Ramachandran ma'am, who is the principal at the Chennai CPS, Chennai Public School in Chennai. And again, a very, very distinguished leader from the southern leg, who's been very regular in many, many IPN programs. She's also moderator, very recently moderated a session wherein I was not around. So thank you very much, Chitrakala ji, for always being with us. I also welcome our fourth guest, Pooja Bose, who is the principal at the Higher Range School in Munnar. She is again very, very distinguished and very, very well read. Whenever I have engaged Ms. Pooja with, I really found her research and thoughts to be quite unique, if I may say, and she's done a lot of bit for IPN. So welcome, Pooja. Good to have you as well. Last but not the least, I'm most thrilled, if I may say so, to welcome the last speaker. Usually takes the I would think usually the beating, if I may say, because she has to more or less repeat the points which already been said. So I have my vote for you. She is joining us for the first time, but she's part of IPN family for I believe 1 year or so. Miss Meetali Archit, she is the principal of the Pallavi International School in Hyderabad. The branch is Gandhipet, if I believe so, right? So that is where we have our 5 guests. So thank you very much to all of you for joining in and making this conversation rolled up. And I now hand it over to Mrs. Murthy. Over to you. Let's begin with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaurav, for having me once again at the IPN platform. It's always a pleasure being a part of the IPN. And thanks to all the fellow panelists. It's a pleasure seeing you all, though on screen. Pratima, my dear, very good friend. Meetali, my very dear ex-colleague. And Chitrakala, I have heard you speak at the IPN platforms earlier. Pleasure seeing you. Pooja, Bose, that you are from Munnar adds to the attraction. Okay. Pleasure having you all, and that I'm talking along with you and sharing my views of what should be the priorities of heads of schools at this point of time as we are physically reopening the schools. I think we have become experts in the last 2 years in planning ad hoc priorities. Okay, at least 2020 to 2021 session, we had one solid plan of how to run the schools through technology. 21-22 had been so interesting that a few months we opened, a few months we closed, and we had hybrid, we had blended, and we had offline, online. My God, the way we have become adaptive at changing our priorities each time, that when Gaurav asked me, what are your top 10 priorities? My priority is to talk to God and say, God, please give us 1 year of offline school so that we can have fixed priorities now, not ad hoc priorities. And also the changing scenario in the world. This morning, we woke up to the news that Russia attacked Ukraine, okay? Makes me rethink about, till yesterday evening, actually, I didn't think about what are my top priorities. This morning, after reading that news, I realized my top most priority is peace education. How important it is to promote peace education in the world, because we are teaching about India's foreign relations. We are teaching about India's foreign policy, but we are not actually teaching about peace education, which is so much more important, seeing the failure of Putin, that he couldn't use diplomacy to build peace, that he has to resort to arms and ammunition and taking away innocent lives just because he has a certain perspective that Ukraine does not agree with. So for me, I think the top most priority that has otherwise been important to me personally has become the most important one this morning, that peace education and finding peaceful solutions are far more important than anything else. Because if Russia could do it today, trust me, there are other countries who are ready to trigger the gun. Ready, more than ready. And with the kind of technology available, I'm sure if they switch on their radar, they can see where we are talking from. And if they want to drop a bomb on me, they can do it bang on without ever missing the target also. That's the kind of technology times that we're living in. So what I personally believe is my topmost priority is peace education and finding peaceful solutions for a better world. Well, of course, as a school, now we are completing 20 years this month. 20-year-old institution, 5 campuses in 3 different cities, but we always stood by one top priority, and that is character first, competence next. We never looked at anything else other than that. But what we did was we continued to interpret and reinterpret what is character. We continue to interpret and reinterpret and build more nuances to what is competence. So for me, character is all physical fitness, by the way, that if we don't take care of a personal health, fitness, that we are not actually exhibiting discipline. This morning, when the school opened for the pre-primary and primary children, I had the second grader who's a class 1 diabetic. She has to take an insulin by herself. Look at the discipline that a child has to have to carry the insulin carefully, inject oneself to maintain the sugar levels. So for me, I feel taking care of one's health, physical health, maintaining fitness is a top priority, may it be a teacher, may it be a child, may it be the principal of the school. Okay, physical fitness is something that's far more important than anything for me, because the child who is weak or the child who is overweight, sitting in that chair, unable to actually balance oneself, what kind of learning can sink into the brain is the question that I frequently have. The next thing is the emotional well-being. The last 2 years may have been testing times, but they also were times that built resilience in many of us. In fact, that I see more resilience in the younger children than in the adults. So I feel emotional well-being is something that needs to be looked at first for myself as a principal of the school. If I have to set a standard that this is what is emotional well-being, this is what is an equilibrium, I need to have my own stories to tell my team and my students that come what may, this is how I can deal with it and I can still smile. So for me, emotional well-being is also an extremely important priority for taking charge of this academic year. Well, of course, I have always harped on one thing called harmony with self. Only people who have harmony with oneself, with people around, with the society, and with the nature, those are the people who are very happy beings. I think that itself is peace education in a way for me, because someone who has got inner conflict, internal conflicts or conflicts with others, a school or a home or a community is no place, because they are living in conflict. For us, it's for me and my team in the school, we consider harmony, building harmony with oneself and with people around is a priority. Yes, I think reflective learning, because oftentimes many of us heard about this, that people have ran to Finland the moment they heard that Finland scored very well in this, what is that exam, Gaurav? OECD conducts it, the much cliched exam.
ISA.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Everybody said Finland, Finland, Finland. But why Finland does so well is because they have reflective learning as a culture. Nobody looks at these silent nuances. They look at the scores because we only see the tangible things. So for me, reflective learning has been important, will continue to be important. The next thing is the reading and listening part. Why did I put these two together? It's only when you read multiple genres of books, read different kinds of news items that are available, knowledge avenues that are available, you gather perspectives. It was yesterday when I was seeing the tension mounting between Russia and Ukraine that I get daily mails from Nat Geo. So that is where I learned that the war or the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is so historical that it started centuries back, even before it was Soviet Union, in fact. Okay, only when you read, you understand what's happening around you in the world. And listen to everybody's perspectives. Listen to why is the Ukraine president pleading, guys, Russians, go back. Only when you listen, you will know the perspectives of people. And the last few things, let me say, because I said I don't want 10 minutes. So I have to close it before the 10th minute, 8th minute or 7th minute, in fact. So for me, I'm looking at this year in the curriculum that what is foremost is citizenship. Every student has to grow up with the idea of me and my country, we grow together. So citizenship is something very, very important to me. Entrepreneurship, considering that so many people lost jobs in the last 2 years and gig economy has been in discussion and in practice, I think we need to groom not children or not generations who can only be employed, but we need to groom generations who can be entrepreneurs and give employment to people. So entrepreneurship is something that I am focusing on. And of course, lastly, it's a sustainability. Anything and everything that they learn, may it be science, may it be mathematics, or the languages for that matter, or the social studies that they learn, it is for a sustainable future that they have to learn, and they can't be a better priority for me than that. So I think, Gaurav, I have shared my priorities in a nutshell without using any slides, because I just felt I need to share what I think.
Absolutely. I mean,
That's it for me.
that's your
Yeah.
current state of mind share, I would say, and that's really
Right.
occupying. You're focused about it, and some very, very, I think, very broad points, but they are very relevant points. Example, I wanted to start my conversation today as well, while I was reading about the Ukraine bit, but right now it is so volatile as a situation, and 2022, you hear a country waging war against another. I mean, that is such an unreal times to begin with. But we'll
Yes.
keep that as a larger conversation as we go along, because I think everyone has their own perspective on that as well, and I'll reserve mine. But I think citizenship, character over competence, I think these are very, very relevant point. And if one really can work on those, and reading and listening, being a quizzer, I can truly appreciate that reading is so important, and widespread reading is so important. You need to have a perspective to begin with, and that's where our students today are lacking. They are too focused on grades, I would say. So that's a good starting to our today's conversation, which has opened up various avenues to chip in from other people's perspective as well. And I think we'll have a great conversation as we lead further. Pratima ji, over to you for your bit. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav, for inviting me today, and lovely to be here on IPN platform with such lovely speakers. And Seetha, you spoke so beautifully. And I wouldn't say that you've covered most of the points, but yes, many of the points I'm sure that all of us will discuss will be part of what you have spoken, Seetha. I think about 2 weeks back, I come across this poster which showed who wants change. So everybody had raised their hands. Then in the second picture, it was who wants to change, and there were no hands up. The third picture said who wants to lead the change. Again, there were no hands up. So the question is, change is inevitable, and are we ready to change? My question and my point is that yes, we have seen massive and drastic changes across the world. Yes, and if I want to change, I have to be part of the change. I cannot just stand on the platform and say that who wants change, but I have to showcase that yes, change has to come and it is inevitable. Having said that, I know we have gone through a lot of 2 years have been really, really, kind of uh, emotionally draining as well as emotionally enhancing our lot of skills. So I actually felt the need to come up with a 5-year development plan for the organization, which I had done. And it has actually come out as a book called Striving for Success Today and Tomorrow, where it showcases that where am I today? Where are the schools of my organization today? And in 5 years, next 5 years, what am I going to achieve and what I can? But let me tell you, this is just what we have done today. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow and what changes I will have to make in that. So there is flexibility to it. Secondly, what I have really started is, I've applied for accreditation process for the school, because I now feel that we need to really get into each and every aspect of running the school very, very minutely. So these are 2 points which I have started as a change and as a priority for our school. But once we start coming back, and already we have started coming back, our senior classes were there in school last month and so on. And we could see the emotional aspect of the students, lot of bullying was observed. So I feel the priority today is emotional well-being, looking into the emotional well-being of the students, of the teachers, of the support staff also. In fact, we started with the support staff because we felt, they are part and parcel of the organization. And we started giving them that kind of sessions where they get confidence in themselves, in their work. So I personally feel that is become my first priority. Emotional well-being, where, teachers have been in their houses working from there, and they have been taking a lot of changes. They have been part of a lot of changes. Expectations from the teachers have been very high. Expectations from the students have been very high. So that is the first and foremost change that I would like to, or I would say the priority I would like to take up. Secondly, I feel that, even life skill programs, to introduce more of life skill programs where, Seetha spoke about the character building. I would say that if I can, when we see the Japanese and the Korean schools where students are cleaning up the classes, there is no support staff to do all that work. Can we bring that into the Indian schools? So that if we can do it in collaboration with our parents, I would love to start that. So that becomes, the life skill program, I would say, related to emotional well-being. We are working on this plan. I hope something will come out. I'm not saying it will come out, but I'm hoping that it will come out. Secondly, I would say that definitely we will be re-looking into the curriculum per se, because what we feel today, the lesson plans that are being based on Bloom's taxonomy, which is just a cognitive domain, where, we are just talking about the cognitive domains of the child. We need to relook into it. And I would say, in fact, I have made a video also which talks about pedagogy, where we are talking about self-directed learning, where we need to give the child the platform to start learning on his own, where we need to create that culture. We need to make the teachers understand what kind of curriculum that we can create where the child starts learning on his own. So there, when I was searching for it, I found that there is something called Fink's taxonomy. So I felt that that would be better than, making lesson plans rather than the Bloom's taxonomy, because Fink's taxonomy actually deals with overall development in a child. It includes the values, the attitudes, the attributes, and everything. And also, of course, the subject knowledge. So this is where actually we are working on it. If I'm making lesson plan based on that. So if something comes out, definitely I'll be very happy about it. Then thirdly, I would say I will dust and digitize my library. My library, actually, we feel that, it is the heart of the school, right? And we always, kind of look at the library where a librarian is sitting with the specs like how I have and looking very stern. But we need to make our libraries more happening, where, imagination is, given the foremost importance, where creativity comes out, where it becomes a studio of learning, a culture of exchange, a culture of discussion. So the library has to become the hub of the school. So that is what I would like to work on. Teachers' professional development. Many schools, I know, IB schools, of course, they have to keep a budget and financial aside for professional development of the teachers. But right now, the priority is to give the teachers a very, very good platform to be on their feet, to feel the confidence, to feel that, yes, they are ready to deal with 21st century students. The skills that we talk about that the student has to acquire, the teachers have to acquire those skills so that, they are able to take them to the classroom. See, if I'm not creative as a teacher, how do I expect my students to be creative? If I'm not innovative, how do I expect, or how can I, if I'm not curious, then how do I make my children curious to know more about things, to research, to find out, right? So I have to give that professional development, professional help to the teachers to grow and to become confident. Yes, we are doing all these things, but these have become real big time priorities for us. Secondly, next one, I would say that I'm not going to keep my operations as the main thing. I'm going to make my academics as the main point, because, you know, in all these international schools that we have, parents are more about, they are more worried about the food. They're more worried about the transport rather than how is the education being imparted. So according to me, now I feel that for me, the priority will not be, because half the time I know principals are answering parents related to the operations. Why was the bus late? Why was the food like this? Why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? Why the books were not given? So these are all the facilities that is being provided by the school. But the first priority is the education. So that is where I would like to focus on the academic. I would like to focus on the data of each and every student who comes into the school, so that every child is given the due. Every child's data will be maintained in the school so that teachers can work on them. And no special promises to the parents. Definitely not. What I can do, I will talk to the parents the same thing. Not promising something and not giving is not at all, I'll really not like to do that, because I know we are promising a lot of things, but many a times you're not able to keep up to those promises. So that will be my priority, that data of every student to be maintained and every child to be given the due. When I've taken the child into my school, it is my, I would say, responsibility to see that when the child passes out, he has a platform to stand on when he moves out of the school premises. Yes, now we are talking about students taking internship programs, entrepreneurship programs. Alumni have to come in to guide the students. So those are also going to be the priorities. Involvement and trust of the parents will be another priority. Yes, we have a beautiful, we call it as SPIC program, where we have representative from every class, parent representative from every class, and we do have meetings regularly. But I want to make that into a think tank kind of a committee where parents also come up with suggestions and programs that can be taken up by the school, which are sustainable programs. Not that today we take it up and tomorrow they are not there. So a better involvement of the parents. And of course, I would say the sports management, where I feel it's very, very important that the child learns on the field. The child learns the leadership qualities, the collaboration, the care and the sharing, everything he learns on the field. So a lot of priority will be given for the sports also. So these are my thoughts. Thank you, Gaurav.
No, wonderful. Thank you very much. In fact, apart from all of what you said, everything is very practical and hands-on, which we believe you're a very hands-on leader because you know it at the top of the mind. And I think maybe we have said this more than enough time that our teachers are the foundation of any institution, all said and done. So I believe your emphasis on that is very, very relevant. You started on a fabulous note, change. I mean, I wish if we can lead the change the way you desire, and that will be fabulous. And people who want to drive change can show up their hand and say that I wish to do this myself. I'm sure we will, on that note, go to our next speaker. That change is something which all of us trying to drive. Chitrakala ji, over to you now. And then if any observations from our guest here, we will obviously would love to hear a little perspective as well, right? But we will take up that at the last, as I mentioned, my request. is that we'll take that at the last. Okay. Yeah, Chitrakala ji, over to you.
So, thank you, Mr. Gauravan. It was just wonderful to listen to Mrs. Sudha, Mrs. Murthy and to Mrs. Pratima. They actually spoke few things which is so important. I've taken down a couple of notes from that, which I would like to speak later, but let me just start with what I have. I just have some couple of things. I thought I just present it, it would be better. I'll be more focused on it. That's the reason I've got this presentation. Well, the first one is, again, I'm going to speak about what Mrs. Pratima just spoke about, the mental and emotional well-being. I'm just looking at it from my school's perspective, what I have to do as changes or what I have to do prioritize according to my the demography over here, the students over here and the people around me. So according to this, I felt this 5 T's were so very important. That is talking to each other, then training the teachers, training the parents and the students and all the stakeholders to adapt to the new changes that's happening, teaching what is important in the class, outside the class, the blended learning methodologies, then the relevant tools to be used. What is that we are using? Are we using the right tools for the right students? And taking care of each other, which is really important because this is a very testing time and almost we have come to the, I presume we have come to the end of it, but I don't know how far we are away from it. But looking at the political situations inside the country and outside the country really makes us think about it. Are we taking care of each other? Because some things are very disturbing, which I don't like to talk in open, but still what is happening inside the country is also pressing us a lot as the leaders. Are we talking to students, to parents? Are we all living in harmony? So those kind of talks are very important. Next, are we connecting to all the people in the right way expected as leaders, as teachers, as students? Well, so this is the first thing, because every one of us are in, kind of emphasizing on the well-being of students, parents, stakeholders, and everybody. Next, the pedagogy, what we have to adapt. When we look back 2020 March and today, all of us, our pedagogies have changed a lot. The approaches, the methodologies, the way we
So there is some network issue at ma'am's end.
Yeah, I think she'll join us back. In the meanwhile, I believe. Yeah, so we'll take up any question if we have, given Ms. Chitrakala will join us back and we'll resume with her in that case. We had Pratima ji and Mrs. Murthy who have spoken. Anyone, and apart from that, even if you do not have a question, if you have an observation, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah, Ms. Jyoti, you have something to share? You'll have to show a virtual show of hand and then we'll go with you. Yeah.
Hello, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Actually, after hearing Seetha Murthy and Pratima Sinha ma'am, I'd just like to say that Seetha Murthy ma'am told us about peace education. And seriously, this is a very hot topic that we need to, implement in our schools. And in peace education, mainly we have to teach empathy to the students, because when they can feel others' pain, they can understand that what they have to do and what they do. I believe that Seetha Murthy ma'am was just outstanding, because everyone focus on academics. We send our students, our child at school just to gain, academic knowledge. But as ma'am said, we need to get all the education, that is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. We have 3 domains, that is cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor. So a child needs to be developed holistically. There should be all-round development in the students. So according to me, in peace education, we just need to implement empathy in the students. And next was Pratima Sinha ma'am. So she asked one question, that who wants change? Seriously, everyone replies, everyone wants change. But when that question is asked that who wants to change, no one answers and no one comes forward to take the initiative. But I read one quote of any author that if you think that you can't change anything, just try sleeping with a mosquito. So, yes, if we can initiate, we can bring the change. And this quality we have to develop in our students. So I just love ma'am's question, Pratima Sinha's ma'am question. Seriously, ma'am, this we have to develop in our students. Otherwise, I guess that today's session is just worth of my time because I'm gaining so much of knowledge, and after studying.
Yes, we can completely resonate with what you are saying. You are what is your introduction, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm a science teacher in GK Memorial School. It is in Bihar. So now I'm working as a academic coordinator, junior academic coordinator, and a TGT science teacher.
Wonderful. So let me compliment you. You're a very passionate individual. If a teacher
Yes,
sits
sir.
at 5:30 after the day's work, I'm sure you are cut out for bigger things in life. All the very best. And thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Induji.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Gaurav, and good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share, we've done away with the examination up to class 7. The purpose is to have good strength, and we have good strength. So there'll be comprehensive continuous evaluation where the children would be revisiting the concepts to address the learning gaps, and children and parents are so happy. They're getting every day 50 minutes of sports time in the morning, right from pre-nursery to 5th standard. And 6 onwards, they get 3 days a week, and they get to visit dance studio and other performing arts areas. So there'll be evaluation sheets, 2 concepts at a time, and just in 3 subjects, English, maths, and science, because Hindi, Punjabi is in our blood. So parents and children are so relieved of the stress and so happy. I know 7th, I wanted to do away till 8th, but then my team said, no, ma'am, let 8th standard onwards. I mean, 8th, 9th anyways, that is the brutality of our education system. We have to prepare them for boards. And so I would request everybody to try this, and the strength will be 100%. Thank you.
Manveen, we will just take up your quick question and observation, and because I think Chitrakala ji is back, so we'll go back to her. Yeah, Manveen, you have to say something.
Good evening, Gaurava, and good evening, everyone. I just have a short question, or rather a request. Pratima ma'am did mention about one of the areas of focus is teachers training regarding the 21st century skills. I quite agree with her, because I personally feel most teachers today have been taught by people in the 20th century. But now we are asking teachers to be more creative, be critical thinkers, and encourage those things in students. So my only request to you, Gaurava, is if you I mean, how can they teach with the 21st century skills? So if you can organize that sometime, that will be lovely. I think we all can benefit with that.
So can I add, Gaurav, can I reply to this?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so ma'am, like how we take up 21st century skills for students, the same way I would suggest that you take up 21st century skills for the teachers, sessions, regular sessions. So, that's where you will feel, when you talk about interpersonal skills, when you talk about intrapersonal skills, when you talk about cognitive skills. So take them 3 separately and have regular sessions with your teachers so that they become aware of, first of all, they need to understand the finer nuances of these skills. Right. So once they know and when they understand that these are the skills that need to be enhanced in the students, they will also really work on them. So I would say interpersonal, and cognitive skills have to be really dealt with the teachers.
Okay, we have Chitrakala ji back. Manveen ji, certainly we will keep note of what you're saying. We often do all this training stuff. We are a little more regular from April onwards. Certainly. Thank you very much. Chitrakala ji, over to you. Finally.
I first apologize for the things which were not under my control. I had to.
No problem at all.
It was something.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I understand.
let's just continue with this. So I was just talking about the pedagogy adaptation that we had to do. Here, what we have to do is we have to make the pedagogy so interactive with the students and with the rest of the people inside the premises that we have to give the space for the students to voice out what they have to do, because they are all independent learners today. They have more of information when we compare to us. Just now, a person who spoke said, teachers are from the 20th century, but we are teaching the 21st century children. So we have to give a voice to them to understand what they really need. So we prepare ourselves according to that. Now, the next I would like to speak on is the main important point, the professional development. And after this particular 2 years of break, I don't know to call it as a break, or definitely the teachers and the school and the principals, all of us have enhanced our skills, the technical skills. But the children, there's a huge learning gap. How are we going to bridge this gap? We all have to really work on these places. There should be some diagnostic assessments that we do, because just now the children have come into school. They are still not ready to sit in a seat. That itself is a big challenge to most of us, making them sit. Even the students of the high school, they find it very tough to sit in their places. So we give them the space to do, but how are we going to diagnose all of these? What is that we're going to plan to make it more relevant for the learner to become future citizens? And how are we going to adapt the revised curriculum in the right way and adapt the right pedagogy to actually achieve what we are planning? So this is something very important that we have to look at. So the next important thing that I would like to bring here is implementation of the digital skills. Now, teachers are having a huge plethora of information, and we have a lot of free, things that we can use it in our classes. But as teachers, we have to choose the right one. How we can empower the teachers, that also comes into the professional development, but how the teacher takes it and uses it in the class. I've just given some samples of what we normally use in the schools to make our classes very interactive, but the teachers have to empower themselves in such a way they bring the right things to the classes to make it very interesting, because just we have a lot of technology and a lot of things, but how are we going to use it in the right way? Next, I would like to speak about is a learning support. That is, here we have few questions that we have to ask ourselves. Like, how much do I know my children? What I have to teach them? Am I teaching the right thing, what he requires? Because yesterday I attended a program about gifted and talented students, how to tackle them. It was so relevant. They were telling, every one of us have we identified them the right way? Have we given them the right information? So as teachers, as school, the 21st century learners, we have to understand them and bring in the right information to give it to them to make it more interesting for them to learn. The next important thing that I would actually press on is coping up with the losses. This is what is disturbing all of us, I can say, all the leaders of the school. We have undergone a kind of a pressure. Believe it, especially during the second lockdown, that is between the month of April, May, June 2021. Believe it, I heard life losses almost every day happening, and my coordinators, my teachers, they used to call a message and tell this is what has happened. So what did we do? How did we balance it? How did we actually connect with the families? Still, we have to do that because they have not come out of it. Next, due to this pandemic, there are financial losses. There are a lot of disconnect with the society, with the people around them, with the neighbors, with the relatives. So first, as schools, we have to try to connect all of this. Secondly, the NEP speaks about equity a lot. But when I look into this, I feel still as a country, we have not connected with everybody, because the other day I was just having a conversation with the Lakshmi Kumar. She was telling more than 4 lakhs and odd students in the country don't have a device to connect to learn. So when we say we are digital India, are we really digitalized everything? Have we reached out to everybody? It's a big question mark. So these are some things as leaders that we have to definitely look at. Here, I would like to tell something. As a school, we have to definitely connect to families to make them understand we are there for them in most of the time, because the emotional connect is very important. Then we have to give them what are the different programs available outside the school for the children, so that they become more engaging themselves in experiential learning and get the information back to them. Next is, how are we connecting with the community? How are we connecting with the society? Are we looking at everybody in the same way that we have to look at? The most important thing, the health and the social well-being, we have to look at. As a school, I would like to just finish it with this particular sentence. Education becomes very human when we principals and teachers connect with them in the right way. Because in education, you cannot expect perfection, but we can at least do things what can connect them and get them in the right way. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Gaurav and the team. I'm so sorry for what happened in between. Thank you.
Not at all. Thank you very much, Chitrakala ji. Always a pleasure listening to you. In fact,
Thank you.
I think some points were, in fact, as someone was pointing out, that there is actually a session required on even discussing the learning gaps in totality. How will you really take care of that? We will go into those specific sessions as well, because I think this is like right now a very broad conversation of priorities and stuff. But we have plans to do that as well, and we will certainly take your support in that as well, right? So
Sure,
we go to our fourth speaker for today, and which is Ms. Pooja Bose. Pooja Bose, I'm sure you are a co-host, which means you can actually share your screen as well, right? Since you're a co-host, you can.
So. Good evening. Good evening, Gaurav, and good evening to all my fellow panelists and speakers. Now, in fact, when Ms. Murthy began the conversation with the Ukraine crisis, I was just wondering, what would we be doing had we been in Ukraine? We just opened up. We would have just opened up our schools, and there goes another crisis. So battling from one crisis to the other, I don't know how the schools out there are handling this. Yes, I need to share the screen. I hope I'm able to, and everybody can see this. Can all of you see the screen?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so we are going to talk about back to school, and this is something which is very nothing new. It's all being talked about. And of course, I'm going to talk about from the perspective of my school, my institution, which is catering mainly to the children of the Tata Consumer Products Limited, which includes, from different socioeconomic strata, starting from the workers, the tea pluckers, to the managers of the plantation site. So we have a wide range of students who are studying, and we were battling the pandemic crisis in our own way, in our own manner, to the best of our ability. I often reference the UNESCO paper. So I am going to start my conversation with the paper which was cited, in July 2021, which said that schools should have been the last to close and first to open in such a crisis. However, what actually happened, we all know the reality. And in December 2021, UNESCO actually called this as a global educational crisis. This is a global educational crisis. And now we are on the path of recovery, and the loss in learning has been disproportionate. And it also coins the term learning poverty, which was earlier 50%, that is prior to the pandemic, and now it is almost 70%. So we are poorer by 70%. We are in a learning poverty zone by 70%. Okay, so the first and foremost thing, according to me, is we have to rebuild the bridges which were broken, and we have to rebuild a number of things, starting with the trust in school. The parents have to restore their trust in the school, in the institution. The trust has to come back in the teachers who are teaching physically. We have to also rebuild the trust in the systems of the school. That means starting from the visitor management, the thermal checks, the sanitization processes. That trust has to be rebuilt. Then the support staff has to be trained enough to deal with the post-pandemic trainings have to be done. And last, but certainly not the least, there has to be rebuilding the bridges amongst the leadership. And leadership does not just include the principal, it also includes the middle level leadership and leadership at different levels, because we work in a decentralized leadership zone. So rebuilding the bridges is also important. Another important part which we need to understand is that we can't do it all. It's impossible to do things as we were doing 2 years before. So we have to prioritize and we have to let go of many things which earlier we were doing in another way. So we have to trim, for example, the syllabus. We have to re-examine our curriculum, and we have to edit number of things. The basics need attention. When I talk of basics, what do I mean? I mean the basics in every subject, in every classroom. The mathematics department has to decide what are the basics in class 5, which they can teach, because they can't teach all the units, they can't teach all the chapters, so the basics need attention. We can talk about bridge courses at this point of time, wherein we will understand that there are some levels at which we will make bridge courses possible for those students who have been deprived of learning because of lack of learning devices or internet. We have to consciously address inequities amongst our teachers, amongst our parents, amongst our peers, our colleagues, that there exist inequities in different forms, in different dimensions, not just inequities in learning or in academics. And of course, articulating anxieties at this point of time is absolutely necessary, because they very much are reality amongst, if you look around, we are anxious in different forms, in different ways, for different reasons. So we have to articulate these anxieties. And while we are doing all of this, let us try to provide support. Support is needed not only by the students, it is also needed by the parents, definitely by the teachers, and of course the students also need support, and each needs support of a different kind. Look, let us not forget that there's been a lot of grief around us in the past 2 years. Each one of us has lost a loved one, a family member, and we are still struggling with that grief or loss. So we have to provide support in the form of emotional support, mental health support. We have to also provide support in health and well-being, because some of us have been affected by disease, we have been weakened. So we have to address the health and well-being of the students as well as the teachers. And we also need to provide support in retuning the academic calendar, the activity calendar, and make it more realistic. Let us not be very ambitious as leaders also, that we have to do this and that and all events have to be done. No, we have to change the academic calendar with the current situation. Also, that the students, many of our students have gone through various forms of trauma, various forms of abuse at their homes. It's a reality. There have been researchers to prove that there have been different types of traumas at home. Also, it's not the safest home environment which our students have had. So we've got to provide sex education in our schools also in that aspect, in that way, for that purpose. Anxieties, I have earlier mentioned, I'm not going to repeat. So trauma and anxieties are important things to address. How are we going to do that? We need more mental health conversations. We need to bring it to the notice of our staff, our support staff, our parents. Whenever we have PTMs, we must include a chapter, a module on mental health conversations, which says that it is okay if you are vulnerable. It's okay if you are breaking down sometimes. It's okay if you feel weak in some way or the other. It's okay to have lost out on learning also, because there are parents who still feel ambitious about that. My child has to be the front runner in everything. But then we need to tell them to be, take it easy right now. It's not the best time to be ambitious and put pressure on your child, because he's dealing or she's dealing with a lot right now. It's important to reiterate the importance of kindness and empathy once again. Keep repeating it because we tend to forget about being kind to each other. And having a good emotional health is also a necessity right now. So it's okay to cry sometimes. It's okay to, have an outburst sometimes, and it's okay to deal with the aftermath of all of that. Do check for signs of trauma or harassment amongst the children. The teachers has to, there are telling signs on the, amongst the students. Check for them. Be observant. Do understand that there are inequities of different forms, not just in learning, not just in academics, but there are inequities amongst home support systems. Not everybody has a room to himself. A student might not even have a study table. A student may not have a device which he or she doesn't have to share with the sibling. So there are the inequities in this aspect. Acknowledge that we have missed out on a number of things. That's the reality. Let's accept that. Be more humane. Don't try to be a Superman. Teachers also are struggling. They also have their own sets of challenges, anxieties. So support them, bring that to the forefront, be more understanding and kind, and recognize individual needs. I think the way forward would be to have more recreational activities, give them room to laugh, to exchange conversations. Outdoor recreation is something, matches, sports, dancing sessions, quizzing, informal play, games, rough and tumble play amongst the pre-primary students, and of course, role play. These are some things which we have got an opportunity to bring back in our lives. So let us use that more and more. One of the fellow speakers did talk about physical development, and I think fitness is absolutely important. That pandemic has shown that the fit people, the people with good physical development, with sound body, stamina in them, they were not hit so badly. So fitness is necessary. Food habits have to be again checked. And yoga, meditation, which includes the teachers, should be brought back to our systems and in a big way. Talking about learning poverty, which is actually the inability to read and understand text as per age, very much exists. We have to address it as educators. Another area, writing. Many children have lost out on writing. Their writing speed has lessened. It's less legible. Mathematical operations, they have forgotten. And when you go to class 5, you see that they are not able to calculate as well as before. We don't see notebooks being maintained. So these are real things which are happening in the classroom, and we need to slowly build them back. It's a reconstruction of sorts. Projects, art and craft, dance and music, these things have to be brought back slowly but surely. Resilience is important because you never know what happens in the next 6 months. Staying connected is important, and be certain that there will be uncertainty around us. So let us be more understanding in that aspect and be more realistic in that aspect. Simplification of curriculum really needs to be done in a big way. Let's not complicate things any further. Let's make it simple and let's not be very ambitious. And realigning ourselves, reaffirmation with the national curriculum framework is important at all the levels. And let us remind ourselves about the goals of NCF at different levels. This is necessary because they're very, very simple, and we need to just keep it at that, at least for this current academic year. Last, let us invest in futuristic traits. When the teachers have come back, please remind them that don't go back to your old ways of chalk and talk. Don't let go of your digital skills, because they will tend to do that. They will tend to again go back to the old ways of teaching and learning. So we've got to stay hybrid. We've got to keep our digital tools alive and keep on learning as we were learning in these past 2 years. And we have to invest in happiness, invest in technology, and give more emphasis to socio-emotional support. And like the pillar, the most important pillar pillar of our social educational system are the teachers, and let the teachers vent out. It is time that they went out. They've gone through a lot in various ways, and help them, provide them with basis to enhance their capabilities, be a transformational leader, be a coach, be a mentor, and change the mindsets of teachers, put them at ease, and once again, build more bridges. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well encapsulated, in fact, all the points. I'm not sure of, was it my screen or everyone's presentation remained on the first slide? I don't know, right? So nevertheless, we'll come to the final speaker for today. Ms. Meetali, Archit, over to you. I know you are the last one, but I'm sure you will be the one who can weave in all the four speakers' conversation as well. Over to you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you so much, and good evening, one and all, once again. So when Gaurav asked, ma'am, you have to speak on 10 top priorities as a leader, the first thing which comes to my mind, what were the challenges which will lead to those priorities? So there were challenges in last 2 years, and I would like to discuss upon that as well. So 2 years of COVID crisis, it acted as a catalyst in the phenomenal evolution of teaching learning practices with 100% technology integration. Yes, practices which we have been planning for next 5-6 years, like that. And evolution of independent learners was tremendous. Evolution of excessive parent involvement in their wards' learning curve. So these were the impact or the resultant of this COVID. Now, one major resultant was online education, which we have never thought upon. We thought that, yes, blended learning was already in place before COVID as well, but it was taken over 100%. Now another variant has come, which is hybrid in nature. And it is leading to the reinventing the wheel of not the pedagogy, hybrid pedagogy, which will revolve around our hybrid learners. Hybrid is not just online and offline, because whatever pedagogy we create, design, it always revolves around the learner. Now our learners have become hybrid learners. Significant change which was seen as a resultant of this COVID crisis was the unexpected outcome in the ABC of attitude. A, the effective domain, which I think many of us have spoken about. B, the behavioral domain. C, the cognitive domain. So how to bring A and B so that C comes automatically in its place. And from unexpected outcome, we can turn it to expected outcome. So my first priority is the ABC of attitude should be in place in not next 1 year, for next 5 years, because these 2 years are going to leave their impact for next 4 to 5 years, and we have to bring them in place. So I will say that rather metamorphically, the marathon to achieve learning outcomes had actually turned up as the sprint to achieve the learning outcomes. Now, second priority, which we already discussed and all of them have agreed upon, is the professional development. The professional development of a teacher was on aggressive and extensive mode in last 2 years, which I think everybody will agree with that. Extensive and aggressive, because time was less and outcome was much more what we are expecting, and that too with online transactions. Now, what is the planning for next 3-4 years? What is the priority with this, with the professional development? Professional development of teacher is not only required just to bring the change in the class, also to bring the change in the behavior, attitude of the child, A, B, C, once again. All of us, I think many of the schools, they are having their student counselors at place. Many of them, as per their strength, they are 2 or 3 or 4 in number. But now the demand is for more than 3 and more than 4. Every teacher has to be a student counselor. For small behavioral problems, she cannot send the child to the student counselor. She herself, she has to be empowered so that the child can be counseled along with the cooperation of the parents and other subject teachers, and we can bring it in place. When we talk about parents, we call parents as partners in education. Partners in education, these partners in education, they were questioning us, questioning the entire teaching fraternity, although they were with us and without their cooperation, we could not achieve it. And we made it possible only with their help. So we thought that why don't to bring it in action? The assessment, which is a very important part of a child's education, we brought them in the assessment portion of it. Parents, one assessment in a year for pre-primary till grade 2, they were supposed to assess their child at home under the supervision or under the guidance with the mentorship of the teacher or the class teacher. The teachers were supposed to give few rubric and parents were supposed to assess the child. This also led us to resolve the issue of that where is my child's academic growth. This also resolved in challenging us or taking care of academic honesty. 2 days back, I was just going through the final assessment papers of grade 3. And I found from my teacher that this is not the child's handwriting. Teacher said, ma'am, this is the parent's handwriting. I was shocked. And we called the parent and parent told that my child is not in the city. He is in the village. So I wrote it. So where is the academic honesty here? So this gave me a thought that what we have done in last 2 years was actually correct. And this also gave me a thought to bring the foundational literacy and numeracy of the child in the form of a bridge course. Because when grade 3 child's paper I was checking, the child who has attempted the paper, the another child who has attempted the paper, he couldn't even write the correct digits on the line, horizontal line. Forget about the calculations which he or she has done. So now this is not the priority. This is the task. This is the target that students of grade 3, 4 who have lost their 2 years, we will be working on in them irrespective of completion of syllabus. We will not hurry and bury the syllabus. We will first focus on the foundation literacy and numeracy of grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. NEP says pre-primary up to grade 2, but we will take it up for grade 3, 4, 5 as well, because it's the need of the hour. So second priority was empowering the teachers to counsel all the students on their behavioral aspect. Third is foundation literacy and numeracy bringing in place. And the fifth challenge which I felt in last 2 years was the participation of students in different activities. We used to sit for hours, for days to define the activity calendar. And the participation is used to be only 20%, whether it's a spatial assembly or any online event, what you name, and the participation was just 20 to 30%. We talk about overall development of a child. Overall development of a child is not catering the overall development of 20 to 30%. We are talking about the 100% population of the school. this gave us the thought that why not students, they themselves design their activity calendar under the supervision of CCA, whether it's a sports activity calendar or their co-curricular activity calendar. So this activity calendar is also one of designed by our students only, because when they will design, they will own it. When they will own it, they will motivate others to participate. So at least from 20 to 30%, we will try to reach out 60 to 70% of the school population to participate in these activities, which actually revolves around the overall development, so-called overall development of a child, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whichever domain. I'll not take much of the time because it's already 6:11. I'll end with this quote of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, which always inspires me. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Take care.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Meetali. I think very well encapsulated. I think you had 5 points, right? So fabulous. And I'm sure every point which you spoke, they were very, very, you're really implementing them in a school, which is why it is coming out so passionately. And I can see that for that matter. And my compliments to you for being, if I may say, the catalyst towards change. You use the word catalyst, right? So I think with that, we will open up the house for Q&A or any observation. As mentioned by Meetali as well, we are already 12 minutes ahead in terms of our official closure, but we'll take a few questions if we have. Otherwise, we'll say thank you to each one of you who are with us today. But before we go there, any observation or any question, anyone, or if you want to share your thought process, we'll be glad to listen in from you. If you have to ask that, you'll have to, okay, yes. So virtual show of hand is the way forward in this case. Deep J, Dr. Deep Khare, you have to say something. Over to you. Aja video pe nahi hai? Aa gaya. theek hai, when wonderful.
Yes, sir. I'm on duty. Somebody was being appreciated for as a teacher working in the evening, and the organizer doesn't remember that there are principals older than the teachers. They are made to work till 6 o'clock, whether you like or not, my dear. So you please appreciate us also. And I think I'm very old man, the rest all are young, but I think they do need appreciation. You keep the time at 6 o'clock only. Anyways, I just wanted to share one small thing that if you ask me, I'm less worried about the learning gaps. I am rather worried about to know that what was required to go ahead from now. What they missed out, if they missed out 3 chapters of history, I don't think that will require in a sequence of learning further new things. If they missed out on basic addition methods, they will not know multiplication. Simply for trying to, get the things normalized. Because I spoke when my time also was my priority that first as a teacher, principal, we to understand, let us not try to get normal times again. Let us understand the impact of this gap. And हमारे हिंदी बोलते हैं धागा टूट जाता है तो गांठ बनती है. Let us learn to live with that knot. Somehow I find many of us are trying to erase that thing, and we are trying to do some plastic surgery. And we all know what is the meaning of plastic surgery. So as a teacher, we should first decide what are our expectations from the children. So they should not be burdened to eat up what you missed out in last 2 weeks, you eat in one day. That won't be a possible thing. So I am hearing a lot about the teachers training, and I have a very small request to all of us that knowing that what is expected by end of this academic year as a learning outcome, okay, not as a content delivery in writing. I could see one madam is very, very serious, bothered about how the kids are writing. I am bothered about what is he thinking. Does he understand the concepts? Can he apply this in life? Because in life, I am not writing anything, Mr. Gaurava. I haven't written in months and years anything. My child who's in class 10 today will be taking calls after 10 years. Will he need to write? He has to only imagine. The mails will go, I want to write a mail to Gaurav. I have to only imagine. A mail will go to you, my dear. I don't want to speak even. So I'm rather not worried about the writing ability. I'm rather worried about whatever knowledge they have gained. Can they process it? Mr. Gaurav, 1 point program I'm trying for all my many years, and once the new school, the new principle, that let us give questions which are not having answered in the notebooks. Let us give questions which are not there in their notebooks. That's the only 1 point program I have. And I'm sure everything 21st century skills or 22nd century skills, 23rd, all will be learned by them. This I spoke with Mr. Last thing, that I have a vaccination for rote learning. And this is the vaccine. You stop asking questions which can be prepared, which can be learned and spoken. Let us stop giving solution to the question. Let them learn how to solve a question. And which is a big, huge thing I'm trying to put across, my dear. Almost every book I see around has got all solved answers or solved questions. They don't have right questions which a child can solve. I'm looking forward where people are only asking questions and leaving children to find the answers. They're looking for research, my dear. Children have stopped finding answers in the notebook, in the textbook. Very rightly said, they don't read books because we never created this opportunity. You give only the question and make sure that the answer is nowhere in the world, not even on Google. Now, this is very hard work, my dear. To create a question, right, apt question, you won't get it from Finland. It is as per what you did in the class, what connection you see around with your community. We have the road congestion right now. A hospital just came up near us. Today, I told all my children, get down on at least half a kilometer away from your school and walk tall and strong. You're smart enough, and 9, 10, and 12 kids can walk on the roads. Convince your parent that, Dad, I will come here and sit in the car and I walk from here. Leadership should not be in the classroom or on the stage. It should be on the real life road. If you can convince their parent that I'll do this risk every day, Dad, I think that is education. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Obviously, yeah, Deepji always leave us to think, right? That's what the duty is. One more thing, we are also thinking right now, and we'll come to you, meet you on Jammu on the 5th, and we'll discuss a little more. Thank you very much. So Jyoti has something to share. I think Jyoti is once again with us. Jyoti, yes, you want to say something?
Yes, of course. I would like to say something. Dr. Deep Kharesa said that about writing. Yes, sir, it is true that we are following Bloom's taxonomy, and it is sad that we are only working on knowledge and understanding basis. We just forget about application, analysis, evaluation, and creation, that levels. We follow one hierarchy on Bloom's taxonomy. On that we make our question papers and we follow in education. And we only teach our students on 2 levels, that is knowledge and understanding. And sir said about application, that is the 3rd level. हमें उसके ऊपर भी जाना है. We need to develop analytical power in our students. We need to develop evaluation power in our students. And after all, we need to even develop creativity in our students. So, sir ne jo bola, yes, I agree with sir, but sir, writing part is also very important. Sir, kyunki, yes, they can think, they can say something, but unhe likhna bhi aana chahiye. There are so many students who are very good, are very good speakers, but very bad in writing. Now, when I'm checking notebooks of the students, I feel like the student is having an outstanding power of a presentation, but he is not able to write properly. He's not able to express his thoughts. So, sir, I little disagree with your opinion, but everyone is having their own thinking, own perception. So I want, and one more thing, every teacher, every ma'am talked about emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. But I would like just to say that we should develop emotional agility in our students. That students should experience their thoughts and they can just, they can just put their thoughts in a positive way. Because maximum times what happens with us, we just drive our thoughts in a negative way. Before speaking, even I was thinking, all experienced teachers, principals are sitting in front of me, and I have to express my thoughts. So how I can face them? So this is an example of emotional agility that I have driven my thoughts that it's okay. If I'll be wrong, I'll get to learn something. So this was the positive approach, what I thought, according to me. So हमें emotional agility भी develop करनी चाहिए students में. And the most important thing is, according to me, perseverance. That is lacking in students. When they fail, they don't want to give examinations. They just run behind. They are scared of failures. So we need to develop perseverance in the students. So, sir, one of my favorite poem is of Harivansh Rai Bachchan ji. थोड़ा हिंदी से ज़्यादा प्रेम है मुझे. So I would like to share that if you allow me.
बहुत छोटी होनी चाहिए, ज़्यादा बड़ी नहीं. बताइए जल्दी से.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है, चढ़ती दीवारों पर से 100 बार फिसलती है. नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है, चढ़ती दीवारों पर से 100 बार फिसलती है. मन का विश्वास रगों में साहस भरता है, चढ़कर गिरना गिरकर चढ़ना ना करता है. आखिर उसकी मेहनत बेकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. So वो 100 times चढ़ती है, वो बार-बार चढ़ती है, she is trying, वो कोशिश करती है. That is perseverance जो हमें students में develop करना चाहिए. And after you all are much more than me, so that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jyoti, and I only gave you the chance second time because I think you are a passionate young teacher, and you have those fresh thoughts which you want to bring to the forefront. My best wishes, as I mentioned, and obviously you can always agree to disagree with people. That's the way life is. Everyone has their own perspective on things, and in my own view, we have to be a good listener, right? And synthesize, take what is needed for you, and keep the rest aside, right? That's again an art, very rarely practiced by people. But nevertheless, so thank you very much, everyone who was part of today's conversation. And I can only say my sincere thank you to each one of you, starting with Mrs. Murthy, Pratima ji, Chitrakala ji, Pooja. I think we lost her in between, but I think she's now back. Miss Meetali, thank you very much, right? As I mentioned, right, these are, if I may end with a disclaimer, these are very indicative, or I would say very personal views of people who are sharing their thought process. They by no means are prescriptive in nature. It is not prescribed to you. Please take it with a pinch of salt. While you share your views, we obviously appreciate that. There's no two ways about it. And at the same time, the idea is to have a conversation, right? So we had our bit of conversation today. So thank you very much. We have done our third leg of conversation for today. Then we will possibly head to our central and eastern leg of discussion, after which we will come to a final consensus, for which I will repeat myself once again, that if you have not given us your views on the form which we have been floating, please do so, so that when we have the final one, we have a very exhaustive list for ours to share with you in totality. So thank you very much. I see a lot of familiar faces now, but thank you very much, everyone. Keep safe and pray for the well-being of this world, I would say, right? That's a very important message right now for all of us. Take care and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.